if we are to survive as Africans on this continent. That's what science is telling us due to climate change.
As an editor, I've been dealing with issues to do with conservation and environment and biodiversity, but nothing prepared me for this session really. It was very informative. The package was really very well thought and very compact.
Well, there are two ways to look at this kind of workshops or gatherings. One is the networking that we've been building on with different African journalists that have come to Kenya to attend this workshop. But the second is the most basic information we received. Some of what was discussed, I've heard it before, but this is a reminder that we have work to do.
It has been a very exciting 1.5 days. I think we had the agenda setters in this room together with us. Oftentimes when we talk about conservation and people look at conservation as tree huggers, as people are often referred to, or conservation as, for an elite group. I think as we sat here and I heard the commitments that were made, knowing the position that the fourth estate actually holds across our continent and even across the world, where they can set the agenda. And I think for us as Africa, we are generally a nature-based economy, and for us, natural resources, their management, their conservation is about our livelihoods. So if getting that discussion going and hearing the commitment that we are actually going to put that in that high up the agenda was very, very interesting for me.
It's very important to get the conservation story right in Africa. You look at the data out of this continent, there is something we are not doing right as far as conservation is concerned. We are losing wildlife increasingly. We are losing habitats for wildlife increasingly, less budgets for conservation in general from governments except a few donors. So what can we do differently? One of the things we've identified as the African Wildlife Foundation is that we need to get the why out there. Why is this important? And most importantly, why we need to get the Africans to tell other Africans why this is important. Now the medium is media. You need to talk to the editors. This is our editors conference. We need to explain why this is important to them, why this is important to Africa's aspirations, why this is important to our economy, why this is important to the international community.
People think there's a lot of wildlife out there, and there isn't. Warden will tell you, there are only 55 hirola, great zebra.
Sometimes you think you know a little bit much about something until you realize that you actually don't know much. Because as the media, you realize actually most of what we know is not enough. It's just like 5% of what people should know about conservation. What is it that we have to do? What kind of investment do we have to do? If we should we rather invest in a water purification system, or should we rather invest in protecting the source of the water, which are the parks and the lands where the water actually comes from?
I come from Ethiopia. It's been in conflict for 1.5 years. The focus is on conflicts. When an estimated 500,000 people have died in this conflict, the focus is on humans. To many people, including editors, animal welfare or the well-being of animals is a luxury. It's something that the middle class is discussing. But there's always a chance to speak on this kind of issues. As I mentioned before, in the Tigray conflicts, some of the animals, elephants, have died, and we haven't given it the attention it deserves.
We have to change how we look at things. I think the first thing we need to do right now is the mindset change, and we can do that with AWF.
70% of Africans, these are people below 30. If you're not on social media, forget it. You're not going to reach them. If you're not on TV, you're not going to reach them. If you're not on YouTube, they don't know what you're talking about. So these interactions are so important for us to get really the messages to where we want the message to be.
I mean, even coming to Kenya and experiencing some of the work of the foundation is a highlight. But again, I go back to the networking that we've been building in this conference. It's something that will stay on. I mean, even in social media, people are adding each other while other people are speaking. And this gives you a chance and an opportunity, a reminder that we live in a very close continent. I mean, we can connect through social media, and that it's a reminder that not just based on our profession, but as Africans, we have work to do. and there are many, many people who value our resources from outside. I think it's time for us to begin to appreciate what we have within the continent.